Podcast starts now. What is up, everyone around the globe?
You're looking right at me. It's actually kind of crazy.
It's kind of scary. I was really taking you in because one, we both decided to slay today.
We both decided to slay.
We both woke up and chose slay.
Can I say something brutally honest?
Oh, God.
No, not about you.
Oh,
I think you look fantastic.
You can't.
Did you think I was going to just be like,
you said brutal.
Can I just say, I hate this shirt on you. No, sorry. I should not have said brutally vulnerable is more like it. It's about me.
That's totally
I'm so
fine.
sorry.
Attack yourself all you want.
So worried.
I was really scared.
No. I would never.
First of all, you're allowed to critique me.
Of course.
Just, not when I say we both slayed.
Right. So, this is very embarrassing to admit. I bought this shirt with a very explicit purpose of wearing it once and returning it. It is more expensive than I would normally spend on a shirt. I, to be perfectly honest, don't even like it that much.
Really?
I've had to get used to it, but I bought it because I had an event and nothing was exciting me. And I was like, you know what? This is not something I normally do. I know it's frowned upon, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to wear it once and then I'm going to return it.
And then what happened?
And then I missed the return window. And so now I need to love it and I need to wear it constantly in order to pay back how much it costs.
Do you think that when you missed the return window, was there a part of your subconscious that wanted to miss the return window and actually keep it?
So here's the thing. No. But what I would have loved, here's my ideal version. I go to return it. They say, I'm sorry, we can only do store credit. That would have been a dream.
Oh, that's
then
fun.
I'm forced to buy something in the moment that I really love.
Yeah.
That said, I'm okay with it. I've accepted it.
Yeah.
But it is funny that we're wearing the same exact silhouette of shirt, which is not a shirt either of us wear very often. And we're both wearing bright colors, another thing we don't do very often.
Yeah. It's funny because I actually put this shirt on and I was like, George's going to be mad at me because I'm slaying so hard and he's going to come up wearing normal clothes and I'm going to eat his ass up.
And then you came in. Oh, you thought one color was slaying? Honey, I brought the rainbow.
I really was shocked. I could not have seen George coming in a Marnie shirt.
Oh, well, that's the other, that's of course the other unspoken thing about this entire debacle is that you are a Marnie spokesperson since you famously debuted your Marnie sunglasses.
We are a Marnie podcast.
A Marnie podcast.
Brought to you by Marnie.
Brought to you by Marnie. I'll say this. When I look at this shirt, is it made well? I don't know.
No, it's Marnie, for crying out loud.
You know what is made well? The little tag that says Marnie.
That's true.
I actually think they put their whole Marnussi into making the tag, and the rest of it is very much made in just like a grandmother's basement in Estonia, where she's like, can you get your cousin to make the shirt?
Yeah, it does kind of feel like that, but in a fun way.
In a fun way.
I think it's tasteful.
It's sort of the material they use for Halloween costumes, I would say. Like if you get a Halloween costume that's like nun or priest, this is the material they use.
I'm like, thank God we're a visual podcast.
Yes.
I mean, could you imagine if we talked about our shirts the whole time?
Speaking of the various offerings of our podcast, this is as good a time as any to say, we have an announcement, which is that we are taking August off.
We're taking a break for August. A hiatus.
And now that has landed, here's the second part of that sentence. On the main feed, we're taking a break. Because where we're going to be absolutely up to date? You better believe our patreon.com/StraightioLab. We're still doing Patreon eps, but not normal eps for August. Because we have to go on vacation.
We deserve it.
Yeah.
Because we deserve it, we need to say why we deserve it, sort of.
Okay.
I need to dish. To this morning, I moved out of my apartment in Brooklyn, New York City. The movers came. I don't have keys to it anymore. I do not live here.
The apartment you lived in for 10 years?
8 years. Obama was president.
Jesus Christ. Take me back.
I was there when Trump was elected. I have been such a wreck. It is crazy.
Damn, 3 presidential administrations.
Isn't that wild?
Our 3 best.
Need I say more? So I've been moving out.
And so how do you feel?
Sad. I feel very sad.
It's really sad.
It was really like, damn, I'll never be 26 again. In like a very real way. And I was like, I've moved like every 2 to 3 years of my childhood. And so this is the longest I've ever lived in any place ever.
Totally.
And I was like, this is wild.
Okay, I have a theory about each of our relationships with aging.
Oh.
and it has to do with housing. I actually think you lived in the same place since your early 20s or mid-20s?
Mid-20s.
Since your mid-20s, basically. And I think that might have something to do with your affection for that period in your life. Whereas because I moved like every 2 years, or honestly every 1 year and then every 2 years, I was always sort of scattered and never remembered how old I was.
Sure, you were reinventing constantly.
And I was constantly reinventing, and it was always these like sub-chapters, whereas you sort of had this one long chapter.
Yeah.
And it's now finally time to close the book on it.
Well, you know what it is? I was saying HBO's Girls has finally ended.
Literally. And as has the Obama administration.
And there was something where I was like, yes, both of those things have ended, but I'm carrying them on.
No, it's true.
By living in this apartment, I'm still HBO's Girls. My story is not over yet. And now it's fully over.
Now we can move on to sort of peak streaming. We can move on to the post-Obama, the rise of Trump.
Oh, literally.
It's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a different episode, but at some point, there needs to be, how people write essays that are like, what was the yuppie? What was the millennial?
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be what was Bushwick,
yes.
Which I'm sure someone has written for some sort of digital media property that no one reads that is somehow owned by Elon Musk.
Of course.
But, it has not crossed my desk, so I'm still calling for it to be written. But I do think there is something about people exactly our age who saw it as the first sort of cool place they knew of,
mm-hmm.
who are now having families. And of course, your version of that is having an office job.
Yeah, that is my family, of course, and I love them all to death. I do think before, when I lived in Bushwick forever, I was like, okay, this is normal. Everyone else is weird. Now that I've been out of Bushwick slightly, yes. I'm starting to be like, oh, Bushwick is a special, it's a different place.
This is another part of your specific relationship to Bushwick is it's not that you're like, oh, I'm alternative and proud, and I thank God I live in Bushwick. It's that you actually think Bushwick is the norm.
I think I'm normal, and that everyone else is just like
me. And
me.
actually, whenever I remember when we first started recording in Midtown, we would come into Manhattan and you would be shocked at the things around you. And I'd be like, yeah, this is what most people's experience is.
No, that's not true.
That's not true.
I like even the self-awareness, like I had a going away party and I was like, oh, I guess I want to have it at this like Bushwick bar. And I was like, oh, but who will want to come out to Bushwick? And that was like such a huge growth.
Yeah.
Where I used to just be like, well, everyone's coming to Bushwick no matter what. And I was like, no, people live in different places. Yeah. And so then to justify having it in Bushwick, I had it be Bushwick themed.
I will say maybe people who have a local community relate to this. You leaving has really put into relief something that has been happening for a while, which is, how there's that like logic problem that's like if you replace every part of a boat at the end, is it the same boat?
Yeah.
Something that I have found is that our community in New York has been slowly replaced one by one. Yeah. And it really is a one-to-one thing. Like people leave, and then suddenly out of nowhere, a 27-year-old gay guy in head-to-toe limited 2 white pants replaces them. And by the way, everyone acts like it's normal and that I should know this person and that we've all been friends forever.
Yes.
And so this has been happening at this point for, literally as long as I've lived here, as long as you've lived here. And there is something about you leaving where it's like the last piece of the ship is gone. And first of all, who's going to replace you? He has not been cast yet.
He has not been cast yet, but he's out there.
He's out there, and I think he's getting callbacks, and he's like, could it be me?
It's actually, I completely agree with you. I am sort of like, the moment I left, I was like, okay, someone's going to film, I'm going to be replaced.
Yeah.
Like quickly. I was even like how long until there's like 17 new gay guys I don't know? Like it could have already happened.
I mean, I can't tell you the number of events I've been to recently where I go and assume it's going to be all our friends from 7 years ago and it is a completely new crop of people. And now it actually has been long enough that those new people, now I do consider my family.
Of course. You love them.
Yeah.
I mean, that was also when trying to plan a going away party. I was like messaging and I was like, wait, am I stuck
Totally.
in 2016?
Totally.
Like, have I grown at all since then?
Yeah.
I'm inviting people that I like actually haven't spoken to in like 3 years.
And to that I say, try planning a wedding because it's that times 100.
Yeah.
I literally was looking at I was like, wait, who am I?
Well, it also gets this is where it gets kind of dark, where you're like branding almost. You're like, who am I projecting? What type of person am I embracing?
Well, there's who you're projecting to the world and also who you're projecting to your better self. It's like, who do I want to, in my heart, who do I want to be? And that is completely unrelated to coolness or anything. In fact, in my heart, I'm like, I want to be really genuine and like, I want to only invite people that I went to kindergarten with.
Right.
But that didn't happen, unfortunately. So what we wanted to do today, any other thoughts about moving?
No other thoughts about moving, I think. And I guess I did want to maybe ask, since we're taking this little hiatus.
Yes.
It's the home stretch till George's big day.
That's right, it is.
Any feelings?
Oh my God, I didn't even think of that. This is probably the last one we'll record for my wedding. I'll tell you one thing. There's no original way to say this. There's nothing more embarrassing than being between the moment of being engaged and between the moment of being married. You have to say words like fiance. You have to quite literally go shopping for wedding bands in a jewelry store and be with your significant other and have like a really nice woman named Amy be like, okay, you guys are cute. I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Amy because she was trained to yes and, not only yes and, like affirm everything you're saying. Okay, so you go in, she's like, do you want gold or silver? You're like, gold. She's like, I always love gold. And then, she's like, do you want 3.5 width or 4 millimeter width or whatever? And you're like, oh, I think we were thinking 4. And she's like, that's my favorite. I always tell couples go with 4. But then she took it one step too far, which is she goes, how long have you guys been together? And we were like, oh, around 4.5 years. And she goes, that's the perfect time, I always say. And I was like, no. You just showed your hand or whatever the expression is. I was like, no. That one was a lie, chica. I could believe you when you said you like 3.5 over 4 millimeter, and I could believe you when you said you like gold over silver, but you cannot convince me that you always tell everyone 4.5 years is the perfect time to be together.
We need to expose this woman.
I love her.
We need an undercover person to go in and say they've been together for 5.5 years and have her go, that's literally perfect. Yes. I always say that's perfect.
I actually need to do a Project Veritas video about Amy and send a bunch of couples in. Send a straight couple, and she's like, oh, I love when couples are straight.
I always say 3.5.
I always say man and a woman is perfect. It just goes together. And yet the thing is, even though I knew that whenever she would affirm something I was genuinely undecided about, I'd be like, oh, great. So Amy agrees. Anyway, my point is I'm looking forward to, I would say I'm less looking forward to the wedding and more looking forward to just post-wedding being normal again.
Yeah.
It is so uncomfortable to be in this extended time when everyone is like weirdly faking a smile towards you.
Well, it's almost like your birthday. It's like a microdose of your birthday all the time.
Yes, all the time. And also, by the way, you get maybe 24 hours after getting engaged for people to have like genuine enthusiasm. And then everyone basically treats you, and they think you don't notice, everyone treats you like, okay, let's wrap it up. And I'm like, it's not my fault. I chose a date based on what was available.
And it takes time to plan.
It takes time to plan.
That's all it is.
And yet they feel the need to ask you how it's going. And then you answer because you're trying to answer a question.
Yeah, and they're literally
like, Jesus fucking Christ. All right,
when is he going to shut up?
I hope you figure out the florals, you stupid faggot.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel. I mean, yeah, I just, I think we're both, I was about to say we're both not like, I think we like attention when we think it's deserved. Would you say that's accurate?
You like it's like merit based?
Like I really enjoy performing, telling a joke that I think is funny, and then people clapping.
But like, do you like your birthday? Because I actually get a sick pleasure about people being like, happy birthday.
Yeah.
And I think I won't. And I always wake up on my birthday and I'm like, wow, I guess I fucking rule. And then like the day after my birthday, I'm like, so that was all fake.
Yeah.
So no one actually thinks I'm the greatest person ever. Totally. They were just treating me special on my special day.
Yeah. I mean, it's even more strange when the thing people are celebrating is your relationship. Because you're sort of like, well, that's private.
It's private. And you're like, if you're normal, I feel like you're like, man, there's flaws, of course. Right. Like, it's almost hard to be like, well, everything we have is perfect.
I recently went, I shouldn't say this. Well, okay. I recently went to a wedding where I will try to anonymize as much as possible. The mom gave a toast, the groom's mother gave a toast that was especially roast-based, which I really I was very moved by it because I was like, they have such a close relationship that she can roast him in her wedding toast. And unfortunately, that is my instinct for, like, I have to train myself. I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
you want to roast?
not even roast, but like make a joke of the day, make a mockery.
You want to be brutally honest.
I want to be brutally honest and make a mockery of the. I mean, when I tell you, we're like, oh, what are our readings going to be? What are our vows going to be? What's the processional music? I keep being like, what if the processional is Rope Burn by Janet Jackson? I just like, it's so difficult to find the right balance of a wink. But the thing with a wedding, unfortunately, unlike a birthday and unlike, I don't know, even a gift or something, is that actually it really reflects poorly on you if it's too joke based.
I think a wedding is not a place for jokes.
It's not a place for jokes.
And not because I'm like, I respect marriage. It's
Totally.
just be like, I'm sort of like, everyone stop. Like, we joke enough.
Yeah. And I actually think, okay, jokes normally are a way to go against the grain.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing with weddings is, as we discussed with Hunter and Peyton a few weeks ago, it's where straight guys specifically are like, now I'm going to test out my material.
Yeah.
So actually, that is the norm. That's the hegemonic path. So you have to actually go full earnest if you want to be alt.
I think you have to go full earnest if you want to be alt, and maybe even like conceptually earnest. Like,
Yeah.
I want you to stare at each other in
know.
silence. Like, I want like the real deal.
Yeah. Because there is something about like, okay, if you're joking, is this even real?
Almost like you decided to do this,
Right.
and now you're making it. You
Totally.
can't be like,
That is
everyone
very true.
come and everyone spend money, and now make a joke about
That's
it.
very true. And actually, that is what, makes it different than a birthday.
Because a birthday is forced upon
A birthday
you.
is forced upon you. And even if you yourself are throwing a party, that's kind of not your fault. You're doing it because it's your birthday.
Well, I've always considered birthday parties a community service.
Exactly.
Literally.
Whereas weddings are like you are making people travel.
You're deciding,
You're
like,
making people spend money. You're literally saying, go to this website and press buy on this pan, on this all-clad pan.
for anyone who's ever known me, today is now a holiday. Like,
Literally.
whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And it's crazy when they're like pulling the rug out.
So
So you're going full serious.
So I guess we have to go full serious. The one thing I was like, one thing would be like if the processional music was a love song, but was like an upbeat, like electronic love song. I thought like that could be a way to do it like a little, if it's like a Robin song.
Sure,
We're not going to do that, but like,
you could. Well, that could be sincere.
So I think something like that could be fun. But then, of course, you know what you risk becoming? Viral video of people dancing down the aisle. Viral video of people of, alt cousin with bangs, like arm in arm with grandma, dancing down the aisle and doing essentially a flash mob.
I actually think for you specifically, if you were to go viral for dancing down the aisle, it would be so off character that I actually think it would work.
Yeah.
Like, there's something about it that would be kind of chic because it would be like, oh, I know that guy, and that's
Totally.
not his style at all.
I will tell you one last thing about weddings and jokes is, at this point on the podcast, a few times I have attempted to talk about it and you have asked me about it.
Yeah.
The way I have not found a funny angle, not in my stand-up, not on the podcast, there's something about it that prevents you from being funny somehow. Like I am almost like I have to first go through the entire experience and then I can write my famous solo show about getting gay married.
I said I do.
But yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, of course.
I don't know how else to describe it. I really draw a blank whenever I try to be like cheeky about it.
Well, maybe because it's not tragedy.
That's right. That's right.
You know, tragedy plus time, so they say.
That's right. It's not a tragedy, and it hasn't been time.
And there hasn't been time.
So how the hell am I going to come up with a joke?
There's literally no way.
There's no way.
There's no way to do a joke about it. You can make a joke about what's her name, Annie. Oh, and that was okay. One more thing about
Who's Annie?
your wedding girl, the rings lady, who you talked to, Amy.
Oh, Amy. Yeah.
Sorry, Amy. I also. It's funny to me even that you have to like buy wedding rings from like industry
the state
standard.
should provide them.
Just literally, I'm like, just send me I want normal. Send me normal.
I know.
Why are there options?
But then because it's normal, you're like, well, this is the thing you have to splurge on because you're going to wear it your whole life. Like, what are you going to do? Go to Chinatown, buy it from like a wholesaler? No, it's a wedding band.
I'm like, yeah, I can't tell.
But anyway, it is what it is.
It is what it is. C'est la vie.
Next time you see me, I'll be wearing a wedding band.
Wow.
Okay, let's get into the meat of this episode.
Yeah. So basically, a lot is happening in the world.
A lot is happening in the world. We wanted to do, this is a season finale.
Sure.
Which is actually another reason I wanted to take a hiatus, because I'm like, I miss having seasons. We've sort of been doing this season for a while.
Yeah.
And it's time to reinvent ourselves.
We need to have a season.
And there are things I'm contemplating for next season. I'm like, there are things we could change, we could lean into. I guess we'll see how I feel after the wedding. But we wanted to sort of take stock. I know we've already done an episode on the summer, but we wanted to take stock of a few things happening in the worlds of politics, global finance, pop culture, theater.
Of course.
And do a classic game of gay or straight where we debate, converse, whatever, about whether certain things are gay or straight. Or other.
Or other even.
Which is a new option we're launching this season, is things that are neither gay nor straight.
You can come out as other.
You might have not heard about that, but we'll explain it.
It's really, really complex.
So I made a list.
Yeah.
Well, let's go right into the Olympics. I think, we're recording this. This is actually the closest we've ever recorded before release.
Oh, no, we're punishing our editor.
We're literally punishing. And actually, I just want to say, Adam, shout out.
Sorry.
We are really sorry. And we promise we won't have any edits unless I decide I hated everything I said.
Yeah, which is possible.
And happens often. Okay.
Well, I'm human.
So the Olympics started last weekend.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say. I did not watch the opening ceremony, which is very rare for me.
Yeah.
Did you?
No. But I did watch Gaga on YouTube.
Okay, see, I didn't even watch Gaga on YouTube.
Really?
Tell me how it was.
I loved
Great start
it.
to the segment, by the way. I have not seen a single thing that we're discussing. So she did La Vie en Rose or no?
No, she did some other French song.
Okay, slay.
That was like silly and whatever, cabaret-y.
Okay. And you saw Celine?
I couldn't find it anywhere on YouTube.
So this is actually... Already, we're starting at a loss because my dream, I love the format of opening ceremony. One of my favorite things, as listeners of this podcast know, I rewatch the Athens one once a year. It lasts 4 hours. I love an opening ceremony. I think it's a real lost art to just do a spectacle like that isn't a halftime show or an athletic event in and of itself or an award show. It is just like a unique thing. And unfortunately, it's not available in full anywhere on the internet.
It's disgusting.
And I don't know what is going on.
The way that the Olympics are like psycho about control, like I'm like, let it out.
It's so... We live in an information age, and information is crying to be free. I should not have to go on Reddit to find a Daily Motion link.
I mean, and the worst of all is when you're like Googling Celine Dion opening ceremony, and it just is like Celine Dion opening ceremony YouTube, and it's like an NBC News clip being like Celine Dion performed it, and I'm like, no, obviously I don't want this.
Can I tell you something else? This happens to me every time I'm trying to watch tennis, every time I'm trying to watch an award show. You have to Google how to watch and then click on an article on Forbes.com that walks you through how to watch something basic, something that when we were growing up was airing on ABC normally. And suddenly you have to have a subscription to the Financial Times, get the print edition magazine on Sundays, open to page 60, scan a QR code, go online, and then they send you to your local polling place, and then someone can tell you, oh, this is the app you have to download to watch the Oscars.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. So our media landscape is broken.
So actually, I want to say I'm boycotting talking about the opening ceremony until they make it free, and I want to just talk about the Olympics as a concept.
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and say instantly gay.
Yeah.
And I think, it's to me, it's the sort of international element. As soon as you're putting all these alt sports together, you're like, yeah, it's if you not acknowledge a global community at all, you're LGBTQ plus.
It's a global community. It's also, as you said, the alt sports is a huge part of it. If you are going to the Olympics and you're like, I'm here to watch soccer, it's like, try living a little. Try watching trampoline.
I love that about the Olympics is fringe festival for sports.
Even I'm watching the tennis, and even I feel a little guilty. I'm like, this isn't what it's about.
You can watch tennis anytime.
Yes, I should be watching gymnastics. Like I really feel. And I even see it in the players' eyes. Their hearts aren't in it.
No.
They want to be at Wimbledon.
They even want you to support the gymnasts.
Yes.
And the archers. And
the archers, the swimmers.
The sailors.
I just want to say gymnastics. Every single time I watch gymnastics, and I've been watching it, every 4 years since I was a kid, I am so struck by the randomness of each event. Someone just woke up and was like, make that more random.
It's sort of like, why have any rules at all?
The rings, you're sort of like, huh?
Yeah.
So we're just having fun here.
So you can just kind of do whatever.
Yeah. So I do like that. I like you know what else I like about Olympic sports? There's a lot of like, honestly, straight shooter style ranking from 1 to 1,000 doves rather than a more math-based approach of like a score that is 3 to 2.
Totally. I mean, there's something almost Drag Race about it, where you, as someone who does not know this world, can watch and be like, that was bad.
Totally. It's actually Drag Race in many ways. Special guest stars.
Literally.
Jingoism.
Yes.
New girls each season that you learn and then forget about.
Well, and then you're like, she's how old?
Literally, yeah. Sort of random challenges that are always a little off. There's an uncanny valley element to it, especially all the shooting related things. You're like, what the hell is she doing?
Okay, another Drag Race thing with the age is like literally there will be a 32-year-old in either Drag Race or the Olympics, and people are like, this elderly person has defied all the odds. She is grandmother for this.
She almost died of old age weeks ago, but then decided to do it one last time.
Nevertheless, she persisted.
Yes. And of course, the forced inspiration porn.
Yeah.
There is something, the inspiration is so forced down your throat during the Olympics and during Drag Race. And I will say this, it somehow works every time.
Yeah.
Like you want to resist it, but then you're like, she's from Kentucky.
Her whole childhood went to this.
She grew up in a barrel.
She was born wearing the barrel. The barrel actually grew with her as she grew.
Wearing a barrel. And actually, she took the barrel off and put on the hydrodynamic bathing suit and then did the 400 butterfly.
So that was really hard.
And so, yes, I think the inspirational porn, I'm trying to think, in order to play, the jingoism part of it, if there's one thing that makes it straight, it's two things. The jingoism and the absolute domination of NBC Universal.
Yeah.
Like, NBC Universal came on this bitch mad as hell, to quote a tweet. They are literally like, when you go on Peacock, they are on Vyvanse over there. It's literally like 16 screens. And they're like, which one do you want? We have tennis, we have gymnastics, we have everything. We have it all.
It's insane. They think that people are like dying to watch the Olympics.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I hope they are.
Yeah. No, I hope they are too. There is something a little bit about less is more. I do sort of, I'm nostalgic for more traditional curation where you just turn on the channel and they show you what the most, popular thing playing is. But I get it. Sure. And as a tennis fan, that's never the most popular thing. And it's nice that I get to see that.
Yeah.
So definitely it's NBC Universal's world and you're lucky to be living in it. And the commentary, the violent nationalism of the commentary is something to behold.
There's something where it's like, it is violent nationalism, but it's acceptable for some reason. Yeah. It's like, but it's playful.
Well, you keep wanting to be like, oh no, they're cheering them on to go murder people abroad. And you realize, oh, thank God, it's just gymnastics. Like the language is so dramatic that you're like, wait a minute, is this pro-war?
No, you do forget that the military is not involved at all. Yeah. Like, I'm like, well, surely the military is there in some capacity. And it's like, no, actually, this is no military here.
Yeah. How do you feel about the national anthem of it all? When someone wins, they play the national anthem.
They play their track.
They play their track. There's something about it, of course, it's jingoistic. But on the other hand, there is something sort of cool about the fact that you actually can be randomly from Serbia and your flag can be above the United States and China, the superpowers.
I think that's great. I celebrate it. Whenever a B-side country wins,
Totally.
I get so excited.
Well, I want to know, actually, as an American, do you feel that sense of patriotism?
Oh, imagine if I said yes.
Because I'll tell you why I'm asking, because I have experiences from both sides, being in an underdog country and a non-underdog country.
Sure.
And when I'm in America, I roll my eyes at the jingoism. But when I'm in Greece, when I tell you I'm ready to go to war, because it's
and you have to.
And I have to. Exactly. Well, not if I keep putting it off. But it's because it's so rare that they win, it really feels like we all came together and made it happen.
I do remember being a child and watching and being like, damn, look at us go. Americans rock.
Totally.
But now it doesn't speak to me in the same way. Yeah. Now I'm sort of like, let the other kids have fun too. We're too psycho. We want it too bad.
And I think the fact that even with, of course, the powerful countries dominate, but even with that, people slip through the cracks. And that I think that's the spirit of the games.
That's the spirit of the games.
And that's what makes them, ultimately, people are rooting for the underdog.
Yes.
Even the most Republican Americans who only want America to win, they're rooting for the underdog.
Yes.
They can't resist the Serbian. All right.
Okay, what's the next thing?
Okay. Oh my God, I love that I'm in charge of this episode.
You're so in charge and I'm addicted to it.
So here, how about I read you all my politics ones? Should we
We'll do all politics. Okay.
Do you want to?
Yeah, I think that's great.
So I have the rise of Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm.
I have the trend of Democrats calling Republicans weird. This is
I've noticed this.
Yes.
I've noticed this too.
And this is like an official talking point that they're really like trying out. I listened to an interview with Pete Buttigieg where the interviewer was like, so you guys are trying out this talking point about Republicans being weird. Tell me about that. Then I have Pete Buttigieg as a, quote, great communicator. This is another thing we've all been hearing.
Yeah.
They're sending him to Fox News like he's an Olympian being sent to Paris.
Literally.
And each time he looks even more snatched than the last time.
I mean, the front door person is like, hey, Pete. Like,
Yeah.
very familiar.
He's like, hey, how's it going? It's Pete.
How's it going?
And then I have Jack Schlossberg, the Kennedy grandson who has become a viral star and is now a Vogue contributor. And I have Doug Emhoff, who, of course, is Kamala Harris's very sweet husband, who used to be an entertainment lawyer and now is sort of a professional bohemian layabout.
Did you see the article? Like there was a quote from an article where he said when he found out that Kamala that Joe Biden was stepping down, he was at a spin class with this gay couple friends.
Yeah, I mean
in West Hollywood.
Yeah,
and left his phone in the car.
I know he's sort of. He is kind of like that one straight guy.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard that, I got way more. I was like, okay,
I sort of love
fun.
him.
Yeah,
and I actually want to say to everyone listening, I'm allowed to have feelings about him that are completely separate of anything else. I think he's charming, and I think he's a winner. And I think that has nothing to do with Kamala's foreign policy opinions.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So, okay,
he's not running for crying out loud.
He's not running for crying out loud. All right, so...
Okay, so I guess let's start with the Kamala rise.
Okay. Kamala rise. I think, we also talked a little bit about this in a previous episode. We've talked about it a lot on the Patreon, so we don't have to talk about it too much. But what do you think, gay or straight, at this stage?
At this stage, I'm still going to go gay.
I think so, too.
It's such a sort of falling up in a funny way.
I agree.
The way that it's all ironic and blah, 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 internet tea.
And the celebratory part of it.
The celebratory part of it.
It's very Pride Month coded.
It's very Pride Month coded because you're like, I know this isn't this isn't
real.
This isn't activism.
This is
and
not
yet
activism.
I'm like, we fucking did it.
But we did it. Yeah.
It gives you a false sense of, pride and achievement.
Yes. And I think the other thing, it's tempting to be like, well, everyone fell in line around her, and so now she has become the new top dog.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, I'm sorry to break this to people, Trump is still beating her in most polls. So actually, she's still the underdog, which makes her still LGBTQ+.
Thank God.
And there's also something about the anticipation of it. It still seems like there's buzz building. Even though she is fully running, you're sort of like, when's she going to drop the next single?
Yeah, no, I agree.
She hasn't dropped her official opinions yet.
Well, and there's a tone shift in a way that is, I know the Kamala's brat thing is whatever, but it is there is something to the she's like, I'm locked in.
Mm-hmm. I'm locked in, but mysterious.
Oh, because I'm teasing the album.
Exactly. She's teasing the
she
album.
Has put up the green wall, and we're like, I wonder what it's going to be.
Yes, exactly.
We're like, I hope it's good. But I'm loving the anticipation.
There is something, and I actually think that's almost what has united Democratic voters is the not knowing.
Yeah.
It's very much she posted, it's like her posting a thing that's loading. It's like a batter, and she's like, incoming.
Lady Gaga at the Olympics tweeted that or Instagrammed or something that she was going to play
a few
7 seconds
of LG7. That's very common with
Kamala.
her policy on healthcare.
Yeah, I'm sort of what does she think? And I'm even does it matter? That's
Totally.
We're in a kind of confusing space.
Yeah,
obviously, because it's still we don't want Trump to win, but it is but she has to have something.
She has to have something, and she.
But at the same time, if literally tomorrow we have to vote,
I know.
I'm still voting for her even though I don't know anything.
Well, here's the thing, and I say this, with all my respect to basically all politicians and everyone that has ever held power.
Who we always love, by the way.
Barack Obama, when he was first running, we all remember it as this incredible unifying moment. The lack of concrete messaging was shocking. If you go back and look at videos, people are holding signs that just say the word hope.
Yeah, I was there.
You know what? To be clear, so was I. But I'm just saying, like, the idea that, of course, I would like for Kamala to come out and be like, universal healthcare now. Like, I would want her to come out and be like, I am literally a communist. Okay, fine.
Yeah, that would be huge.
That would be huge. But the idea that she actually has to have concrete policies is ahistorical, because many people have won without having any concrete opinions. And some of them have won re-election. Like, the idea that the big messages were hope and change will never cease to be the funniest thing.
No, that was genius.
Holding a sign that just says hope, that is like, even Republicans don't hold a sign that just says, like, racism.
Yeah.
They think of unique ways to brand it.
It was, I mean, God, I missed that time.
Yeah.
I remember just being like, wow, everything's fine. I'm also addicted. I have my reservations about aging, of course. But one thing I really like is being able to refer to past presidencies with like knowledge.
Totally.
I always felt gatekept by parents being like, oh, Reagan.
Yeah.
And I was always like, what does that mean? Like, what are you implying when you say something like that? And now I'm like, this is so fun.
I know. It's true. Okay, so I guess, I mean, it remains to be seen, but I think for now...
I want to know your thoughts on the Kennedy, John Schlossberg.
Oh, sure, Jack Schlossberg.
Jack?
You know...
can I get anyone's name right today? I'm flying off the handle.
Here's the thing with Jack Schlossberg. He is exactly my type on paper. I mean, it's like...
Sure, he is, yeah.
It just is that sort of the kind of guy that I tend to go for, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
That said, you know, there's something, I guess, sort of fascinating about how he's sort of like a Kennedy for our era. There hasn't been one in a while, and it's like, oh, yep, I guess that's what it would look like if he was a millennial on TikTok. Cool.
A baby girl.
Next.
Baby girl Kennedy.
Yeah, like it's just sort of like, right. So it used to be, the cool thing was like, I don't know, you would see paparazzi photos of a Kennedy at the beach playing Frisbee. And that was like what we needed in the 90s.
Yeah.
And now it's like someone on TikTok being like ironically sexy and like holding his shirt over his head and being like, I'm not even aware of the fact that I'm showing off my abs.
Yeah.
So every generation gets the Kennedy it deserves, I guess is what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel as exciting to me as I think it could.
I'm feeling it's one of those times watching the whole thing happen. I'm like, am I depressed?
Totally.
Because I watch this and I'm like, I don't feel anger.
Yeah.
I don't feel joy. I just feel empty.
I completely agree. I think this is also part of getting older where like you just have less capacity for mustering up the energy to be enraged at something.
Yeah.
I do wonder if I was 21, if I would be so mad that we are like putting a Kennedy on a pedestal. And if I would be like, guys, like, this is not the person we need to be like rallying around. And like, when it was announced that he got his like Vogue job, would I be someone who was like, okay, so I guess he's taking jobs away from real journalists. It's like the idea that I would ever be mad about that now seems insane.
But see, I don't even know, not to be, maybe this is revisionist.
Yeah.
Maybe this is rewriting the past, but I'm like, I even feel like when I was 21, I wasn't, like, I was sort of like above it. Like, I was like, well, I don't care about this guy.
Sure.
Like, I would never be angry.
Yeah. Here's the types of things I used to get mad at more that I don't anymore. It's like, for example, this is not a bad example, but Hillary Clinton saying Pokemon go to the polls. So many people latched onto that as like a real sign of how out of touch she was. And it's like, no, it was just like Pokemon Go was in the news and she wanted to say something. This woman is, I mean, I have my problems with her, but she's speaking literally 17 hours a day.
Yeah.
Campaigning horribly, I might add, for president. Like, of course she's going to make a reference to Pokemon Go. Like, that's not... But then people will be like, this is exactly the problem with the Democratic Party. It's like, no, that's not it. It's other things.
That's not quite the problem.
So those are the things. And I feel like Jack Schlossberg belongs to that kind of topic, which is like things that people on Twitter would get mad at.
maybe I've also been beaten down by the world so much that like someone like him, it's like you can get mad at him, but he's going to be successful in whatever, like he just will be around till the day I die.
Yeah.
And I've now learned to just accept that faster than I used to.
Yeah.
Like I used to be like, well, there will be justice because he doesn't deserve this job.
Totally.
Because people only get jobs that they deserve. And now I'm like, well, obviously that's not true.
Right.
This man will be a media empire within 5 years.
And if he isn't, it literally won't matter.
Oh,
he'll just be actually happier than if he was. But no, I don't. I'm also sort of like, if you think about all the directions a Kennedy grandson could have gone in, it's probably best case scenario.
I'm also like, working at Vogue used to be like glamorous and real, and I'm like, well, media's dead.
Yeah.
So they gave him like a fake job, like literally to make him feel like he's busy.
And by the way, the other people that are able to accept jobs like that get paid $1 a day sometimes come from more money than the Kennedys. So let's keep that in mind. He actually is affirmative action for low-income communities, aka the Kennedys.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it's hard to sort of get it up for him. I will say, here's a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
How would you feel if everything about him was the same, but he was gay?
See, I think I might.
Tough.
I would almost be more annoyed, I think.
I know.
That's not fair.
It's not fair.
I would be more annoyed.
Okay, well, speaking of being annoyed at gay guys, what is your take on Pete Buttigieg as the great communicator? As the only,
as the Fox News whisperer?
As the Fox News whisperer, as someone who goes on Fox News and hands their asses back to them.
I find it so eye-rolly, of course. But I'm also like, I guess that's fun.
But it's not about us, is the thing.
It's not about us.
It's so, like, the idea that I am watching a clip of him on Fox News on Instagram and have an opinion about that, the way that is so irrelevant to anything, any stakeholders in the matter, cannot be overstated.
I guess I like that it's kind of like a magic trick he does.
Totally.
Like, it's sort of like, ooh, Sasha Colby's going to perform.
Yeah.
Like, she's going to whip her hair around.
It's actually the best use of his talents.
Literally.
I don't think you should be president. I barely think you should be in government. But, like, yeah, he is a good messenger because he's, like, classically debate trained.
Yeah, and he makes it a little fun.
And he makes it fun. He has that sort of, like, neutral, straight voice.
Yeah, he worked so hard on.
They gave him a little spray tan.
Yeah.
He looks snatched as hell.
It's true.
Also, the idea that, like, I'm not, our issues with Pete Buttigieg are, let's say that his policies are, I don't know, more centrist than we would like.
Mm-hmm.
When he's on Fox News, that doesn't matter. He's literally trying to convince Fox News voters. Who am I to go and be like, excuse me?
Yeah, I guess I kind of celebrate it.
Yeah.
And I actually do say that one is gay.
That one's gay, you think?
Yeah, it's such a performance. It's so
interesting.
Like, it's just for fun.
Huh. I'm gonna disagree with you.
Oh.
And say that the sort of performance of civil debate and kind of like cable news based civil disagreement, being like, we can communicate with the other side, is straight. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I think that as an ideal, it is something
That's true. That's true. It's very idealistic in a way that I thought we had all kind of moved on
Exactly.
from.
There's something very retro about it. You're sort of like, oh, wow, this is what Hardball with Chris Matthews used to be like. Like, it's very sort of honestly a pre-Trump vision of bipartisanship.
Yeah. Well, the idea from the past that like you could just argue with someone and like change their mind.
Yes.
It was really like pervasive.
Yes.
And now I don't, if someone disagrees with me, I'm like, okay, I won't talk to you now.
Oh, I shut down
Like,
completely.
it's just like, because it's like, I don't care. Like, there's always those statistics of like, if you can just tell an undecided person to vote, that's better than trying to convince a Republican.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
Unless you're Pete Buttigieg.
And then it's like, give me the Republicans.
Okay, so then what is the one we were really excited about? Sorry, I keep looking.
Wait, I have one that you had on your list that I want to know what you think about.
Okay, well, wait. There's Democrats calling Republicans weird and Silicon Valley.
Oh, wait, do the
Trump
Republicans weird?
Okay.
I think that one is juicy.
So what do you think about it? So basically, the main, it's fine. Thanks.
I will never let you drop your bottle cap. Hold on to that.
Basically, the idea here is that a new talking point among Democrats, by the way, their main talking point over the last 8 years has been that democracy is at stake and we need to save democracy. One of the worst talking points.
So annoying.
Whether it's true or not, the idea that you think you're going to get people to vote because they care about the vague notion of democracy and not the jobs and the jobs that they do or don't have and the economy and their like imagined fear that people are coming into schools and, you know, changing everyone's gender.
There's even something about like making Republicans seem cooler than they are. They're like, they're attacking.
Literally.
And I'm like, oh my God, they must be fucking
punk rock.
strong.
Yeah, exactly. So this idea, while I essentially agree with it, is just not a winning argument.
It's not juicy.
So the new thing that they've thought of, these crazy kids over in Washington, D.C., they've thought of a new line of attack, which is saying Republicans, specifically sort of Trumpian Republicans and people like J.D. Vance are weird. It's like, they're so creepy. Why do they want to control your body? They're so weird. Why do they like have these strange ideas about, I don't know, like monitoring your pornography use? Like, you know, it's they like, why is like J.D. Vance obsessed with like purity, you know, whatever, whatever it may be. It's sort of basically painting them as like incels.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
First of all, I kind of like it. I actually do think it's genius.
So it's very StraightioLab coded in the sense that one of our sort of running things we say is like, just be normal. Like, why isn't everyone being normal?
Yeah. I do think that's like important.
Yes.
Like there's almost something about like, we don't need to argue with what you're saying. Like you're being weird.
Yeah.
I think it's almost like it's a normal response. Like, and it's like people can kind of be like, that is weird, isn't it?
Totally.
Because even like everyone's like crazy Trumper family member, it's not like they're like normal. You're like, what is up with that guy? And it's like, I know he has trauma that he's not dealing with, and that's what all this is, but it's still like, why is he so weird?
Yeah. I think it's an interesting risk. I think to go on the offensive like that is, you know, really get some attention, get some lips a flapping. I think it is a fascinating, like, reversal of the conservative argument that, like, people with non-normative identities are weird. Like, it's like, for so long, it was like, we are conservative people, are family values. Look at that weird guy wearing, you know, women's clothing. Look at that weird woman going to work. Yeah. Look at that other weird woman not having children.
Yeah.
You know, look at that person whose gender is not the one assigned to, whatever. Like, and so it is interesting that as society has become more, quote unquote, socially progressive, now the weird thing is to be like a sort of basement dwelling laptop user.
And I think it's good. I also, this is a slight change of subject, but do you ever have that thing where people are like, we say normal with all the knowing in the world, that normal is like, you know, what is normal? No, nothing is normal. Don't assume normal.
Yeah.
And when people are like, normal, that's interesting. And I'm like, no, it's self-aware.
Yeah,
like when people underestimate the levels at which you're working.
No, I know.
I'm like, it's a trigger.
It is maybe worth defining, like, what our brand of
what is normal?
No, because I am like, what it is. There's something very, like, inspired by the internet about these definitions. Like, someone who is not being normal is someone who is, like, taking up a lot of space and acting in bad faith and, like, does not honestly live in the context of which they came.
Yeah.
Whatever.
They're also just like they're kind of having like freak out. Like someone who's not normal is like not chill. It's sort of how I see it.
And I think it's also about being connected to your surroundings. Like if you are aware of like how to contextualize everything around you, like, oh, that person that seems so different, this is why they are that way. So now I can form a normal opinion about them.
Yeah.
All right, so is it gay or straight?
I think in the way that we've described it, I'm leaning, again, it's gay.
You think it's gay?
Because it's that, like, internet snarky.
Yes.
There's a direct line from the original Gawker to calling Republicans weird.
Literally. I would say, taken at face value, it's straight because you are basically making the argument that someone is not normal, which is, you know, a very straight thing to do. But I think taken with some... you know, with a sprinkle of irony, it is gay.
Of course.
Because you are basically being Sasha Colby on Drag Race.
And there's sprinkles of irony everywhere around here.
Yeah.
Speaking of irony,
Yes.
I have another one that you had on your list that, if we're leaving politics behind,
Yes.
that I was really curious what you thought about, is sort of Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay, so
I need to know your thoughts specifically.
much like this weird place between earnestness and irony that we find ourselves in politically, with the Kamala coconut memes, with the Democrats calling Republicans weird, with all of that stuff. Similarly, to me, as an outsider and as someone who has seen maybe 2 Marvel movies in my life, the Wolverine and Deadpool thing is like, so we're combining one thing that is like edgelord ironic and one thing that is more earnest. Like X-Men, to me, of course it's funny, but it's like very much about like the people that are marginalized persevere. It's a queer narrative, but it's also like a really earnestly social justice tinged narrative. So you're taking one thing that's quote unquote serious and one thing that's quote unquote ironic and putting them together. And that to me seems at first glance queer, I think, because you have to have some nuance. But as a cultural commodity, very straight, because you're trying to have it both ways. So that's sort of my take on it. What do you think?
Well, first of all, it's so exciting, well, and sad. You know how like I remember like my grandma like having to look at like pop culture, and it was like, you shouldn't know who these people are.
I know.
Like, it's sad that you have to be, aware of Kim Petras and Sam Smith's Unholy. And
it's sad that we have to be aware of it, to be honest, but yeah.
But like, and like, that's almost how I feel about you being aware that Deadpool and Wolverine exists, where I'm like, no, he's too pure. He shouldn't be like subjected to this advertising.
I mean, this is what I'm getting purely through like my preconceived notions of what these properties are. But I would love to know what you think.
Well, mostly I've been going to the theater to see movies relatively frequently now. And I have been hit with so many ads for this damn movie that I am like so furious at it generally. And the way that it is telling you to laugh all the time, and it's sort of like, it's not that funny.
Sure. Okay.
Like, the way that it's like gross out humor, it's like playfully gay, like Deadpool's always like, and maybe I'll get fucked in the asshole. Right. And it's like, and it's always like, oh my God, that's crazy. And it's like, okay, but it's not that crazy.
Well, yes. I mean, but that to me is the Deadpool. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that has like always been the Deadpool.
That's always been Deadpool
way.
But yeah, and now adding this other layer of Wolverine. I mean, I love, the 2 girls and their joint sleigh, but it feels like desperation in a way that is sad, because I'm like, I can't believe I have to say the words Deadpool and Wolverine so many times.
I mean,
it's actually, I regret bringing this up at all, but I'm like also like Wolverine was like, it ended sincerely, and it was like, and Hugh Jackman like was set free, and I was so happy that he was,
he can go back to doing musicals.
He can just be musicals, and he can just live a life again
with his normal wife,
who he loves heterosexually.
Period. So, okay, here's another thing about combining those two is like Deadpool existed as this like Wario to the rest of Marvel or something. Like he's like the ironic, he's like the just pure id, like just like shit jokes and boner jokes, and everyone else is fighting for justice and fighting Thanos or whatever. And Deadpool is like the crazy court jester. So that's his role, court jester. Now, when you combine him, when you bring him into the world of the non-court jesters, you're basically making a mockery of the whole thing, and it's almost like an admission that all of this is fucking stupid.
Yeah. And we don't need that now.
I don't, like, you actually are not allowed to reclaim it as stupid if you yourself are Marvel.
Totally. I also am like, for some reason, like, get a different actor. Like, make it a different Wolverine. I don't know what deal Hugh Jackman has signed with what devil, but it is
there's something cruel. Yeah, there's something about that Wolverine specifically that is so Gaga doing a different, or like Beyonce doing a different genre for each album. It's like they've made him do like a dark, sort of like black and white movie. They've made him do like a normal one. Now he's suddenly branching into comedy. It's like, what's next? Like a Western?
So that is exactly what it is.
Like it's going to be like, the next one's going to be a Netflix rom-com, and it's like him and Storm or whatever.
Which actually would be genius, and I would watch, unfortunately.
So yeah, I mean, I think there's just sort of just like, it's so debasing to everyone. Like you're just sort of like, why can't we quit while we're ahead anymore?
Yeah.
Infinite growth mindset, of course.
Of course, needless to say.
So straight,
needless to say.
All right, what else is on our list? Okay, knit polos as the must-have summer shirt. So we've talked a lot about the striped Zara shirt of 2018. You know, in my mind, it's a sort of mustard color and a black color, but it also existed in other colors. This summer, it's undeniable. The statement shirt of the summer is a knit polo. They sell them at Abercrombie. Of course, all of it is like a trickle-down effect from the Bodie ones, which cost like $600. And now that's the thing. We've both resisted the trend.
I've resisted the trend. I do think it looks good. I think it looks good. But here's what I do want to say. I think it is fear-based.
Yeah.
It is sort of a, like, I know I'm supposed to have an outfit, but how do I not look stupid? It's sort of like, it's running from something.
I agree.
I look at people in those and I say, feel free to live out loud in any capacity.
It got too big too fast. I see it and I don't think it looks good anymore. Or like, I think it looks like you're following the leader.
Wow.
Which is interesting because I see people in similarly unoriginal clothing and I don't feel that way. Like I see someone, even when I see someone in big pants limited to shirt, I still think they have more personality than knit polo.
Interesting.
What do you think of those two? Who has more personality?
No, you're right. Of course, big pants little shirt has more personality.
There's just something about it. Just so quickly became, off-duty tech worker going to a music festival.
We're also the playing with like fabric. It's happening a lot these days. And at first I was really excited by it. I had the terry cloth. I still have some terry cloth that I like, but it was like everyone's sort of chasing that. Like everyone realized at the same time, oh, we can just change the material and do the same shirt and it'll be like traditional but new.
Right.
And I'm kind of tired of it.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm almost like it would actually be braver to just wear a normal polo shirt.
I completely agree, actually. And I have been wearing, a polo shirt really does exactly what you need it to do.
That's what it needed to do.
Talk about something you can dress up and dress down. The Wasps really snapped when they created it.
That they really, really
and actually,
did.
Much like gymnastics, you are sort of like, what crazy motherfucker came up with this? Like, it is actually so random if you think about it.
Sometimes I'll be wearing a polo shirt and I'm being like, this is weird.
Yeah.
Also talk about like, you have to have wink to wear a polo shirt because
otherwise you just look like a junior senator who just lost his re-election campaign.
Sometimes I really forget that I can look junior senator like easily. I have to work against it.
You have to work against it, and the fit has to be right. Weirdly, you think a polo doesn't need to fit well, it does. even if that fitting well is like an oversized look, you know what I mean?
Of course.
Okay, so I mean, I'm sorry to say I'm going to go ahead and say straight for knit polos.
Yeah, straight.
Okay, I mean, I know we're running out of time. Should we discuss Hawk to a Girl?
So this is complicated. I think this is complicated because we're setting ourselves up. We're talking about things that are happening. And mostly I would say things that are like slightly annoying. And so we start talking about them and then we find ourselves talking about them. And then I'm like, oh no.
We're becoming what we hate.
We're becoming what we hate. And even saying the words Hawk to a Girl hurts. And I don't know how to process that.
No, there's something about it where you think we've reached the bottom and it keeps going. You think American culture cannot go any lower, and then Hawk to a Girl comes along. And by the way, to your point about us discussing very, very mainstream things. It's like, this is why we don't do it more often. Like
Hawk to a girl?
We can only handle it once a year.
This hurts.
Yeah.
Hawk to a girl.
Hawk to a.
Is Hawk to a girl straight or gay? Can you believe that these are the words we're saying?
And we're doing it willingly.
We could have easily just literally no one told us.
No one told us to do this.
We came in and said, I know.
And not just that, to call you out for a second, that was your main addition to the list.
Oh, you cannot do this. I came up with the Olympics, for crying out loud.
That's true. No, you're right.
I birthed this entire episode.
This entire segment. You came up with the Olympics. And then I was like, oh, what do you think of these? And you were like, they're great, but can we also do Hawk to a girl? So I want to know, what's your take on Hawk to a girl?
Gay or straight?
Since you wanted to discuss her so much.
I just am curious what it means.
I know.
I like, there's something about it. We haven't had like she's basically Charlie bit my finger, but a girl. And for some reason it's hitting different. I think people are like, both hating her and celebrating her in a way that is larger than normal, in a way that I don't quite get.
So here's part of it, is to me, Hawk to a girl.
Can you believe this?
I can, literally no. Is started in like the corner of the internet that, talk about straight, by the way, the corner of the internet that is, it's literally like sports betting.
Yeah.
And Barstool. And some adjacency to like right-wing incel culture. It is, frat parties,
it's like golf
tailgating, golf memes, day trading.
Yes.
Like meme stocks.
Yes.
It is, the dark parts of Reddit. So I think what feels different about it in terms of memes that cross our desk is that it comes from that corner of the internet rather than, let's say Gen Z kids on TikTok or gay guys that are posting about Charlie XCX, or even like sort of like normal girls who came up with girl dinner. Like this is a community that could not be farther from our community.
Yeah.
And yet it's a female lead.
But it's a female lead talking about like sucking dick.
Right.
And so they're like, look at this like slut, essentially.
Sure.
Like they're like, oh, we hate her, but we love her because she's owning it.
And she is owning it.
Yeah.
And I have to say, like, she has been handling it with grace.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's
like,
true.
I'm just sort of like, this is so insane. There was an article about how, like, she's from the small town and the media like descended on it to interview her, and they were interviewing like her grandma and her family, and they were like, oh my God, it's so amazing. She's just a small town girl. We never expected this. And they're talking about it as though she competed in the Olympics.
Talking about and grew up in a barrel.
Literally. Yeah, it's truly like, so is anyone going to like broach the topic that the reason she's famous is because she said Hawk toi? There's something very quintessentially American about it, because it's like, it really is like fame and notoriety and like quote unquote success above all else. It doesn't matter if it's because of Hawk Tua or because you won, the 100-meter race in the Olympics.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in that regard, obviously it's deeply, deeply straight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's something I almost look forward to like a year from now when it'll be funny to reference in like an ironic way.
Like Covfefe.
Yeah. Where, that's gonna like, there's gonna be like a drink at a bar called the Hawk Tua, and I'm gonna like laugh and have to order it.
No, it's true. There should be a German word for the despair one feels when faced with Hawk Tua girl. It's a combination of like, all my greatest fears about the state of the world have been confirmed.
Yeah.
Plus, like, I feel like I'm covered in slime.
It really makes me feel alone.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like, oh, everyone else, like I'm my own person and everyone else is on this other train, and I'm just gonna have to like, again, like center and hold strong to who I am.
No, it's really true.
And thank God. As always, we thank God.
As does she, I'm sure. All right, so
that's pretty much.
I mean, I do think it's I think we have to go with straight.
We have to go with straight on that one.
Well, let's see if we have one final one in us. Another one on here is Oh Mary, our dear beloved friend Cole's play, which I think, like, in a really amazing way has surpassed not any expectation, but has surpassed our, like, own limitations of what we think queer comedy can do.
It has gone out of the bubble in a big way.
And I'm almost like, is that related to our big argument that alt comedy aesthetics are taking over the world, which I think also relates to Democrats calling Republicans weird. I think it also relates to the brat Kamala. Like,
totally.
There is just something that's like, this has all been brewing under the surface for so long, and it's like people have been listening to podcasts and being like, well, this is my own thing that I do. I listen to Las Culturistas, and suddenly we're waking up and we're in a Las Culturistas world.
Wow. Alt comedy is
now mainstream politics.
Wow,
there's just something about it.
Yeah, there's something about it. I was literally thinking about it recently. I was like, so Cole is like Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Well, this is the thing.
Like, I'm like, what the fuck?
But this is what I'm saying. It's like, literally, get ready for this. Hamilton is Obama. O'Mary is Kamala. Like, it's like,
George, you're freaking me out.
Hamilton walked so O'Mary could run. It's like Hamilton had to do it fully, earnestly, with this like amazing goal of like
hope change.
And now O'Mary can finally have some fun. And guess what? Ultimately, O'Mary actually has more to say than Hamilton ever did. It is just doing it through the medium of comedy and not through the medium of social justice rap.
Unfortunately, you're a genius. You're such a genius. I mean, that is scary.
So,
but then, I mean, I can't wait to see what the future holds. What does it look like in 10 years when...
Right, when Hawk Tuah Girl is in charge. What is the Hawk Tuah Girl version of O'Mary? It's like, now we're in sort of an okay spot. This
is a great spot.
It's a good spot. And actually, I would love it if we could pause here before Trump wins. But I think this is a great spot in terms of having some hope for the future. You know, between O'Mary and Kamala Harris, anything is possible.
Totally.
But I do worry that the pendulum will swing in the other direction.
We just got it to swing in a good one.
Well, we still have August.
In our hiatus.
So, yeah.
Well, should we wrap up?
Let's wrap up. Well, I want to say, Sam, I'm so sad you're leaving.
Me too.
I'm doing sort of my mom brand of emotional regulation, which is when she famously said, when something bad happens to me, I don't think about it.
Love her.
That is kind diva. That is kind of like my approach to you leaving. I was even thinking about this at your going away party. I kept being like, let yourself feel this. And I was not able to.
The whole time, I was the same way. Like, the whole time I was like, oh, cool. I had an excuse to, like, get attention.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you actually, because it hasn't even really hit me that I'm like,
because you're still here. It'll hit you when you're back.
And I was like, I will be seeing everyone less, like, in a big way. And that is kind of freaky.
Yeah.
Because it happened so slowly. And now it's happening quickly.
Yeah. No, it is true that you sort of did tease in a very Kamala way, teased your exit.
Oh, I was teasing for a while.
For like
6 months.
6 months, yeah.
So yeah, this half of the year was actually me teasing leaving New York.
Very true.
And identity wise, it's complicated. I'm sort of like, you know what? Whatever. I mean, we're wrapping up, but I'm like, it doesn't sound fun to be like, I live in LA. You know what I mean? Like when I'm like saying like I live in New York, I'm always like, now that sounds good. Like that feels good in my mouth.
Sure.
But if I'm like, I live in LA, I hear that and I'm like, okay, like, okay, I guess you suck.
Like, wait, no, that can't be right.
No, it's not right. And I'm trying to figure out, it's there's disdain there.
Yeah, of course. Here's something that might help you.
Oh, please.
You know, in this election is between two coastal elites, one from New York and one from California.
Oh.
And the one you're voting for is from California. And so keep that in mind.
Well, cheers to the coast.
Cheers to that. New York is not sending their best to DC.
That's true.
Well, another season of StraightioLab is over. We'll see you on Patreon. And I'm actually really excited about the next season. I'm like,
me
we're
too.
going to get some good guests. And I think we're going to like really reach a new era.
And you're going to have a wedding ring, of course.
I'm going to have a wedding ring. I'm going to be covered head to toe in jewels of all kinds.
Well, and needless to say, expect more Marnie next season.
Expect more Marnie. And I'm sorry I said the material is bad. I mean, I stand by it, unfortunately, but I would definitely love some free Marnie stuff. If anyone's listening, maybe send me your sort of less cheaply made shirts, and I'll promote them on the podcast. All right.
Okay.
Love ya.
Love ya. Bye.